Coming up on episode 140 of Creative Writing, I'm talking about the basic framework for a book or something else launch.
I can't go back to sleep, it's almost light. These restless thoughts have kept me up again tonight.
Hey there, creatives. This is Kirsten from Creative Writing, and this is the podcast just for you, the creative blogger or writer who wants to build an online platform without being smarmy, which is kind of another word for sleazy, but it's so much more fun to say. Try it. Say it with me. Smarmy, smarmy, smarmy. So much fun. Okay, enough of that. Woo. Last week, if you are a regular listener, I did not have an episode because I had no voice. None. If you could hear me talking, it sounded painful. Like people would wince at me when I spoke. It was bad news. So I'm back today, and here you go. And if you're new, then you won't know the difference. But this episode, I'm going to start kind of a mini series about launching, and I am going to focus on book launching, but I want to say that these principles, it's more of a framework. It's not going to be a step-by-step. I am going to have some nitty-gritty things, especially I think as we go on in the series, but it's going to be overall a framework. So big ideas that you can apply so that if you're not writing books right now, because I know from the survey of podcast listeners I had you guys take earlier this year, a lot of you aren't really interested in publishing and self-publishing. So that's not your jam, and that's okay. I don't want you to feel like you can't listen. Yes, if you're going to write a book and episode 139 told you you should write a book, then this will help you with that aspect. But if you're launching a course or a coaching program or something else, this framework will work for you too. So if you want to find the show notes with links and a written version of this, not a transcript, but I do a written blog post, it's going to be at creativewriting.com/140 for episode 140. Let's dive into the framework for launching. So this is actually a little bit simplistic, and you may be like, this is too simplistic, but bear with me because I feel like people really miss this kind of overarching thought process, I guess, of launching, this overall planning, and it makes it very simple, but in a way that makes it manageable. Because I hear all the time in the group, people are constantly talking about launching and the fear of launching and not sure what to do and being overwhelmed. And so the goal of this series, and especially particularly this episode, I want you to not be overwhelmed with the idea of launching. So this is a simple book launch formula. The timeline of your launch, you're going to have the pre-launch, which is where you're writing the book, you're editing, you're proofing, you're formatting, cover design, platform building, like growing your email list, and maybe even doing some promotions beforehand, getting the buzz out about the book, or if you're doing pre-orders, you might even be linking to that pre-order page. That is all pre-launch. It's the hard work behind the whole launching thing. And a lot of writers feel pretty good about this stuff, especially the writing of the book, although that can be overwhelming too. But I feel like I hear a lot again and again from writers, like, I thought writing the book was the hard part, but it's actually the promotion and the launching. And I know Roseanne, shout out to you, who's been talking in the group about to launch her book. And she said that the writing, everybody always says that's the hard part, but really all this stuff comes after. So writing the book is hard, but for a lot of us creatives, we may not like the rest of the things that come with it. The things like editing and figuring out how much you should pay an editor. Should you pay an editor? Proofreading, is that different than editing? Formatting your book, getting it ready for uploading to Kindle or putting it into a print version. Cover design, that's a huge one. And then there's that whole idea of platform building, which is a sort of separate beast, but it's kind of like all the things I mentioned before are your actual product. And the platform building aspect, growing your email list, growing your followers on Twitter or your Facebook likes, although I will say that neither of those two things are really going to help your book launch all that much. Focus on the email list, or even a Facebook group I would focus on over anything else, a Facebook group or email. Those aspects are sort of like the flip side of the coin. It's getting prepared for the launch. It's like pre-promo. So you've got the pre-launch part where you're doing the creative work, building your product. Then you've also got the pre-launch work that's like pre-promotion. And then you have your launch. And in your launch, you're going to have promotion. And there are three main kinds of promotion. I'll talk about that in just a sec. And I'm going to have a whole episode on that because I think that's a huge topic. And again, a simple framework that we can get to. So there's three kinds of promotion that you can do. And that's really what your launch looks like is doing these kinds of promotions. And again, there's lots of like nitty gritty things that you're going to be doing. And that will depend on whether you're launching a book or a course. And I've actually changed my launch strategy a lot. So I'll talk about that in just a second. I want to get through the framework and I'm going slow through this. So the three kinds of promotion that I'll talk more about next week that happen at your launch are telling your audience that you've built, having other people tell their audiences, and then paying people or organizations to tell other people. Okay, so telling your audience obviously looks like tweeting and Facebook. Again, not going to be super effective for most things. Your Facebook group might be and your email list might be, but telling your audience, that's part of your launch. That's a main part of it. Another part is having others tell their audiences. And this looks like for courses, a lot of times it's the affiliates. For books, now that I'm doing so much fiction, I have newsletter swaps. I have a spreadsheet. Y'all, I hate spreadsheets. I got a spreadsheet. I think I have 4 spreadsheets related to newsletter swaps. And basically what that is every week I send out a roundup of great reads. And these are things, a lot of times I've read them. I haven't always. I'm reading about a book of a day, but can't quite keep up. And sometimes I read other things outside of my list, but I swap with other people. So they will share my book, I'll share their book. And we have everybody has different spreadsheets and you pick dates and all this kind of stuff. And so that's having other people tell their audiences. Some of the people I swap with have smaller audiences, some have bigger. I don't like to look at the numbers about that. I think it's hard. It's a hard line because if you have somebody with a bigger, more engaged audience, more engaged being key, then you might see a bigger return than from your own, like emailing your own audience might do something for you. And it should do everything. Like, don't you wish like all of those people on your email list would go buy your book, but they don't. It's just life. But you might get more results from other people telling their people. And then paid promotion. We all know what that looks like. Facebook ads, AMS, which I think they're now just, I don't know if they're just called AS ads, but we're all still calling them AMS ads. The Amazon ads that you have, any kind of paid promotion, I pay a lot of, I don't do a ton of ads. I do more paying for promotional spots in email because again, if you haven't heard this about me, I'm really into email. Email is super, super effective. And I have been, since I started doing these paid promotional sites, I've been tracking which ones work best for my books, which means that I will set up a paid promo. And what that means is a company, there's some like e-news reader today. BookBub is a super famous one. I have not, those are very hard to get. And also like $700 or $800, super expensive. Things like that are very expensive. Some of them are not, some of them are like $25. My Book Cave is another one I use. But in any case, these paid promotional sites, they have big email lists. They might have 10,000 people on their list. They might have 100,000 people, and you're paying for a spot in there. Some of the promo sites also offer things like pay extra and get featured on Twitter and Facebook. Guess what I'm going to say to that? Just guess. I'm going to say don't pay extra for those. I might do a website listing if it also gets emailed out like an RSS feed. But generally, I'm not going to pay extra for Twitter. I'm not going to pay extra for Facebook. And I do know that some people do see results with Facebook and Twitter, but it's not the norm. The email lists are. So the paid part of launching is when you're paying for ads and different things like that. And when you're launching, the main thing is really just getting the word out. And these are 3 ways you do it: your audience, other people's audiences, and paid audiences. So you're paying for other people's audiences. That's a pretty simple launch thing, right? Obviously, I'm going to get into more detail as we go, but I think it's really helpful to like mentally think about it in this very simple way because it might take away that overwhelm. Do not be overwhelmed. Okay, so post-launch, and that just really means maybe after the first week or depending, I've been trying a slow launch method where you like for 3 weeks even spread out your promos and maybe don't even do them on launch day. So this is kind of what I hinted at before. I've been trying a slow launch where I post my book and I don't even tell anybody for a couple of days to let Amazon kind of sort it out. And the more books I've written, the better my rank becomes automatically on Amazon. But some people have reported getting all the way to like the top 2,000 in the store without telling a soul about it. And Amazon just shifting it down there. But that does not happen for me. I might get to like about 10,000. without telling anybody. And I don't understand fully how the Amazon algorithm works in terms of sales. And when I look at my sales and page reads and look at my rankings, sometimes it makes no sense. So you just do the best you can. But I have been trying that where it's really weird because you launch your book and then you don't tell anybody. And that's been working. So it's something to try. Your launch day doesn't have to be this giant confetti balloons, screaming bullhorns, the plane flying with like the banner behind it. I love those. It can be that, or you can pretend like 2 days after your book was launched, hey, now it's launched, because that also can give you the time to ask your ARC team, your advanced review people, to go put up reviews if you're needing reviews, because you also will need those for the paid promo sites. Okay, so I think I kind of went off a little bit onto some more details. Let's talk post-launch. Let me circle back. Okay, so you've done your pre-launch work. You've done your launch work of planning out that promo. And then now we're at post-launch. So this is really after that, whatever 3-week period where your book is really hot, you're telling everybody, you're paying promos, you have newsletter swaps, or if it's a course, it's that, whatever period that the cart is open, or the period that it's on sale, if it's an evergreen course and you're having a big launch. Post-launch is when you're keeping your book afloat. So this doesn't work if we're talking about something that's open and closed door. And what I mean by that is like a course that's open only like once or twice a year. Okay, you're obviously that's not evergreen. It's not up all the time, right? But for books and things on, Amazon are available for purchase at all times, you need to keep that thing in front of people. And so that's really what post-launch looks like. And that may look different for everyone depending on your goals. How many books do you want to sell? Is it about the money for you? Is it about authority? Do you want to continue to pay for ads throughout? Do you want to write new books that will help lift up your old books in your backlist? And that's kind of part of your post-launch strategy is, okay, I'm going to promote this book I've already written by writing a new book and linking to that and talking about both. So post-launch might look like AMS ads, again, more ads and things like that keep it in front of people, and continuing to do some of the same launch things, but maybe not to as big of a degree. So I spend way more money during that launch period. And then when I'm just now, as I've built a backlist, so I've written 6 novels, I'll have 7 out at the end of October. And so now that I have what's called a backlist of more books, I can actually go back and do, like when I have a new release, I can also pay for a promo and make like an older book in my backlist free or 99 cents. And so I'm continuing to kind of like not just push one thing, but another thing, and then hope readers become raving fans, which is what we all want. And then we'll buy more books. And so part of my post-launch strategy is that all my books are in Kindle Select. And when they're in Kindle Select, that means they're exclusive to Amazon. I can't have them anywhere else. They can be read in KU. So I get paid for book sales and also page reads. And every 90 days, you get to have a promotion. It can be a free promotion, and you have, I think, 5 days optional you can use, or you could just say, I want 1 free day, or you can do a countdown deal where you make the price like increase over time. Secret, I just make it 99 cents for the week for those. But you can do those kinds of promos every 90 days. And so what I've started doing now that I have this backlist is making a calendar, and I'm going to start, in addition to hopefully launching a book a month, I will also be doing a promotion on a different book in my backlist. And I should be able to spread that out because of the 90-day period if I'm smart about how I do it, so that every 90-day period, each book has a promo. They're not all on top of each other, but they are kind of spread out to continue to keep those book sales moving. So that's what my personal post-launch strategy is, to keep my books in there and running those promotions. And I'll probably run an ad if I do a free, especially free books. And I know that sounds counterintuitive to pay for ads for free books, but I've been watching a lot of people who have done this, and they'll spend like $60 or $70 on an ad, and they will get 5,000-10,000 downloads. And those people are reading the book, they're signing up for email lists. And then if it's just a 1-day free promo, the next day people might see that email that was sent out the day before, realize it's not free, and buy it anyway. And so the sales continue to churn. And so a lot of people I've talked to, if they're, writing good books with quality covers and writing to the correct market and reader expectations, all of those things, if they're doing all this stuff right, and they do that kind of free promotion, they are seeing a massive increase. So they spent that $60 and maybe made $1,000. And so that's, kind of one of my goals for my own personal post-launch strategy. So did you notice that I've given you a very simple book launch formula? You have pre-launch when you make the product and start doing your platform building. You have your launch where you're doing one of 3 kinds of promo, or probably all of them, telling your people, having other people tell their people, and paying for more people to be told. And then your post-launch where you're keeping that book afloat and not just letting it die in Amazon or just die wherever you have it up for sale, which is what happens. And here's what I see a lot of people doing. I see a lot of people trying to launch like this. They create something, they put it up for sale wherever that is, whether it's Amazon or another platform or even on their blog, and then they just kind of hope people will come to it. They put it on Facebook, they might tweet about it, they email their list maybe a little too much, maybe incessantly about it, and then they're like, why is no one buying my book? And I think sometimes we hit one of those 3 kinds of promo. Like maybe we just tell our audience, maybe we don't have other people tell them, maybe we don't pay for things, or maybe we pay for things and they don't work. We're paying for the wrong things. Or your cover is really terrible and you can pay for all the things you want and no one's going to buy your book. Really important. And there's an episode, I'll link to it in the show notes because I can't think of what number now, where Kevin Tomlinson came on and he actually looked at, I think, 3 different books that were listed on Amazon from our community members. And he talked about the covers, the descriptions, the categories, everything to really help show what you can do to improve. So look for that in the show notes. I'll link to it. I'm not sure which episode number it is. But if you're not doing all those things right, no matter what kind of launch you have, it's not going to work very well unless you just get lucky, because you know, we've all seen those books that the cover stinks, the description stinks, the book itself might stink, and it's doing really well. I see those all the time. And y'all, let me just be honest. I struggle with bitterness because I see my book, I see my rank, and then I see a book and I've read it and it's bad and it's doing so well. And I just struggle with that. So that's my confession this week to you guys. Don't do that. Don't compare. Don't look at the things that shouldn't do well but are. You should really not look at the outliers. That would be considered an outlier. They're doing well in spite of not doing what you should do. Look at the people who are right in the center, who are doing all the things right and who are doing well. And that's where you should kind of emulate in your genre. So launching doesn't have to be really crazy. Yes, there are tons of details. And really, if you're trying to put this stuff into place, you just need to make a big list of the things you need to do, not get overwhelmed by your list, and knock them out one by one by one. And if you're a person who loves organizing things, then you could use Trello or Asana. I use Google Docs. In fact, this week when I launched a book, I have a checklist for launch day and went and made sure I did all the things, and some of them I'd forgotten. Even though I made the list myself, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that thing right there. So you want to figure that out for yourself, but this is the basic framework, whether you're launching a book or something else. And next week, I want to talk more about the whole idea of promo, because I think whether we're talking, even if we're not talking about launching, if we're talking about a blog post or something like that, when you're trying to promote things, these are the 3 basic things you do. You tell your people, other people tell their people, and you pay for it to be shared. So we're going to talk next week more in depth about that. If you want to find the show notes for this episode, again, they are at creativewriting.com/140. If you want to join my illustrious email list, which you don't want to miss every Friday, you can go to creativewriting.com/quick fix. And if you want to join the stellar Creative Writing community, you can go to creativewriting.com/community to find all of the lovely, lovely people and make some connections. Thank you guys for listening. I hope that you go out, create content you love, and serve your people well.